Serafina Vale had learned, very early in life, that the world did not make space for quiet people. It simply moved around them, the way a river moves around a small rock, barely noticing, never stopping. She was 21 years old, and she had spent most of those years being overlooked. She lived on the edge of the Ashwood Pack's territory, in a small stone cottage that smelled of dried herbs and pine sap. She worked in the Pack infirmary, cleaning wounds, preparing medicines, and sitting with wolves who were too sick to be left alone at night. Nobody thanked her for it. Nobody needed to, because nobody truly saw her doing it. She was just there, dependable, quiet, invisible. Her wolf had not fully awakened in 3 years. In the world of werewolves, that was considered a serious problem. A wolf without her inner animal was like a candle without a flame, present but not burning. People whispered about it. Some said she was defective. Some said the moon goddess had simply forgotten her. Sarah had stopped flinching at the whispers a long time ago. She had built a kind of peace inside herself that did not depend on anyone else's opinion. It was a small peace, maybe, but it was hers. Then came the night of the Métis revelation ceremony. It happened once a year, under the full moon, in the wide clearing at the center of Pack territory. Wolves gathered from across the region, dressed in their best, speaking loudly and laughing with anticipation. It was one of the few nights when even the most serious wolves softened a little, because the ceremony carried a kind of magic that no one could deny. The moon goddess revealed fated mates, the one soul the universe had decided belonged beside you. It was not a wish, it was not a guess. It was a fact written somewhere deeper than bone. Sarah stood near the back of the crowd, wearing a clean but simple dress. She had not expected much. She had told herself, quietly, on the walk over, that even if nothing happened tonight, that was fine. She would walk home, make herself tea, and sleep well. But something did happen. It started as a warmth in her chest, soft at first, like sunlight coming through a window. Then it became a pull, gentle but impossible to ignore, the way gravity is gentle but impossible to argue with. She followed it without thinking, moving through the crowd as people turned to look at her, puzzled by the expression on her face. She stopped in front of Calum Blackthorne. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with dark eyes that had the habit of measuring everything they looked at. He was the alpha of the Iron Vale Pack, the most powerful pack in the entire region. Every wolf in the clearing knew his name. He had arrived at the ceremony that night flanked by his council, wearing a dark coat, looking less like a man attending a celebration, and more like one conducting an inspection. For a moment, when Sarah stopped in front of him, something changed in his face. It was very brief, barely a second, but she saw it. His eyes widened slightly. His jaw softened. There was something almost like wonder in the way he looked at her, and she understood in that instant that he felt it too. The pull, the recognition, the certainty that the universe had just handed them both a name. Then his eyes moved. They traveled down her simple dress, noted her Omega rank pin, registered her unknown surname. She watched him do the math. She could almost see the calculations moving behind his eyes. The political alliance his council had spent 2 years arranging, the reputation of the Iron Vale Pack, the image he had spent his entire life building and protecting. He took one step back. "I, Calum Blackthorne, alpha of the Iron Vale Pack," he said, and his voice was clear and steady and loud enough for everyone to hear, "reject you, Serafina Vale, as my fated mate." The clearing went completely silent. Then came the pain. The severing of a mate bond is not something a wolf can prepare for. It moved through Serafina like a cold wave, sharp and deep, stealing the air from her lungs. Around her, she heard people gasp. A few wolves nearest to her reached forward slightly, as if expecting her to fall. She did not fall. She stood still and absorbed it, and when the worst of the wave passed, she looked up at Calum Blackthorne and met his gaze without a single word. She held it for 3 full seconds. Then she turned around, and she walked out of the clearing. People would talk about that walk for a long time afterward. The way she moved through the parting crowd, not rushing, not stumbling, her back perfectly straight, her chin level, no tears, no pleading, no scene, just a woman who had been handed something cruel and chosen to carry it with dignity. The days that followed were harder than she allowed anyone to see. Her small position at the infirmary disappeared without explanation. Invitations to pack gatherings stopped coming. In the market, conversations ended a little too quickly when she arrived. She was not driven away. She was simply made to feel, very clearly, that she no longer quite belonged. She took to spending her evenings in the old forest that bordered the pack's eastern edge. It was quiet there, in a way that felt healing rather than lonely. The trees were ancient, thick-trunked and patient, and they did not care about pack rankings or public rejections. She ran alone through the undergrowth, sat beside the stream when she was tired, and let herself feel everything she kept carefully tucked away during the day. One night, exhausted after a long run, she lay down beneath a massive white oak tree near the stream and fell asleep looking up at the moon through the leaves. She dreamed. In the dream, there was no forest, no pack, no pain. There was only light, silver and warm and deeply, unmistakably alive. It gathered itself slowly into the shape of a woman, tall and still, with eyes like starfields and a voice like water moving over smooth stone. "You are not what they said you were," the figure told her. "You never were. You were never forgotten, child. You were waiting. And now you are done waiting." Sarah woke before sunrise with her cheek pressed against the roots of the old oak. Something was different. She felt it before she understood it. A presence inside her, vast and calm and powerful, like a tide that had been held back for years and was now, finally, released. Her wolf rose slowly, steadily, the way the sun rises, not rushed, not uncertain, simply inevitable. When Serafina shifted for the first time in 3 years, the wolf that emerged was nothing like what anyone in the Ashwood pack had ever seen. She was enormous, larger than most male wolves, with a coat as white as fresh snow, and edges that seemed to shimmer faintly in the pre-dawn dark, as if light lived just beneath each strand of fur. Her eyes were the exact color of a full moon. When she lifted her head and stood still in the forest, the birds went quiet. The stream seemed to pause. The trees, those ancient and patient trees, seemed to lean toward her just slightly. Elder Marin found her there in the morning. The old woman was 93 years old and had seen every variety of wolf the packs had to offer. She had lived through wars, peace treaties, droughts, and celebrations. Very little surprised her anymore. But when she came through the trees and found Serafina sitting beside the white oak in human form, with silver light still fading from her fingertips, Elder Marin stopped walking and went very still. "Moon's champion," she breathed, and the words came out like a prayer. "I thought I would never see one in my lifetime." She explained it slowly, sitting beside Sarah on the oak roots, her old hands folded in her lap. The Moon's champion was not a rank or a title that any pack could give. It was a gift, rare, ancient, chosen entirely by the goddess herself. It was given to a wolf the goddess had marked for her own purposes, usually during a time of great personal pain, as though the pain had burned away everything unnecessary and revealed what was underneath. A champion's wolf carried something divine within it. Not power in the ordinary sense, not just strength or speed, but a kind of authority that every wolf recognized instinctively, the way every living thing recognizes the difference between a torch and the sun. There was also, Elder Marin added quietly, an old law. Rejecting a moon's champion was considered, in the ancient texts, an offense against the goddess herself, not punished by anyone in particular, just noticed, by something older and larger than any pack's politics. Word spread, as it always does, faster than anyone intends. Serafina did not announce herself. She did not seek out the whispers or try to shape them. She simply continued her life. But the life had changed shape around her. The infirmary asked her back. Wolves who had looked past her for years began to meet her eyes. An elder from a neighboring pack sent a messenger asking if the Moon's champion of the Ashwood territory would consent to correspond with him on matters of healing practices. She began to say yes to things she would previously have been too uncertain to accept. Meanwhile, across the region, something quiet and grinding was happening to the Ironvale pack. The political alliance that Calum had chosen over his fated mate collapsed in a dispute that no one had predicted. 2 members of his council resigned in the same month over different disagreements. Minor problems multiplied, not catastrophically, not in ways anyone could point to and call supernatural, just a steady accumulation of friction and misalignment, the way a road becomes difficult to travel when it is no longer going in the right direction. Calum heard about Serafina's wolf. He told himself it was coincidence, or exaggeration, or the kind of story that small packs told to make themselves feel important. Then he saw her at the regional summit. She had come as Elder Marin's official representative, a role that was, by any reasonable measure, far above what her former Omega ranking should have permitted. She walked into the great hall of the summit gathering in a simple white dress, her dark hair loose, and every wolf in the room felt her presence before they consciously registered her appearance. It was not arrogance. It was not performance. It was simply what she was, now, and the room responded to it the way a field of grass responds to wind, all at once, without deciding to. Calum noticed it. He also noticed Darius Voss, the sharp and quietly capable beta of the Thornridge pack, standing beside Sarah and laughing at something she said, with the relaxed ease of a man who had found excellent company and was in no hurry to leave it. The mate bond, severed by Calum's own words, technically dead, but apparently not yet fully gone, stirred painfully in his chest at the sight. He approached her after the formal summit concluded. He told himself he had professional reasons. He had, by that point, told himself many things. Serafina, he said, when he finally reached her. Luna Serafina, said Darius pleasantly, from her left side, using the honorific that had naturally attached itself to her in recent weeks. Or Sarah, if she has offered you that. Calum looked at the woman he had rejected in front of hundreds of witnesses, and understood, with a clarity that came too late, and hurt accordingly, the size of what he had discarded. He spoke to her quietly and honestly, which was harder for him than anything he had done in years. He told her he had been wrong. The words felt insufficient the moment they left his mouth, but he said them anyway, because they were true. She listened to him completely, not impatiently, not coldly, but with the full and careful attention she gave everything now. You made a decision, she said, when he finished. You made it loudly, and in front of everyone, because you wanted it to be clear. It was clear. I heard it very well. I know, he said. I was wrong. Yes, she agreed simply. You were. She did not punish him beyond that. She did not make a speech or list his failures or twist the knife. But she also did not open a door. She told him, quietly and without anger, that she would not be a second choice, not the option someone returned to after the better plan fell apart. She told him that if he had truly seen her that night in the clearing, none of the rest of it would have happened. He had no answer. She was right, and they both knew it. Serafina walked home from the summit that evening, along a road that ran beside the old forest. The trees were dark and enormous on either side of her, and the moon was very bright overhead. Somewhere in the trees, Lyra was running. She could feel it, that vast, silver, powerful presence moving through the forest with a joy that was quiet and enormous at the same time. Serafina had begun to understand her wolf, the way you understand an old friend. Not by explaining, but by simply knowing. She built a small sanctuary near the white oak tree in the months that followed. Nothing grand, a few simple buildings, a garden, a place where wolves who had been cast out or overlooked or told they were not enough could come and rest and be seen. Several came in the first season. More came after that. Calum Blackthorn was sometimes seen at the edge of her territory, not crossing in, not asking for anything, just standing at the boundary in the early evening, the way a man stands at the edge of a shore he has not earned the right to enter. Whether she would ever invite him across was a question that only time would answer. Inside the sanctuary, the candles burned late into the night. Sarah moved through the small rooms with her herbs and her quiet hands and her unhurried steps, and she was, at last, exactly where she was always meant to be, not at the edge of anyone else's world, but firmly, peacefully, powerfully, at the center of her own. And in the forest beyond the white oak, a great silver wolf ran beneath the full moon, and the light that fell on her was a little brighter than the light that fell on everything else.